This is the Sentient by Seeth Designs. And if you can't already tell, it is a lot bigger than normal balisong. With good reason, and I will cover that in just a moment. This is a new plastic balisong design by Seeth Designs, which you might not have heard of, but he makes really cool designs. You might have seen some of his others. I really like his blade shapes. If you've seen like the Pharaoh, has that cool Kopesh blade shape. His other designs also do have metal, but this one is fully 3D printed UV hardened resin. Obviously there are some weight pins that are metal in the hardware, the washers, but the handles and blade themselves are totally 3D printed resin. Now before I dive any further, I just want to mention that this video is in some ways, I guess you could say, like sponsored, in the sense that this was sent to me for free for the purpose of just making a video on. He was very, open about creative, wherever I wanted to go. Like I can make whatever types of videos or do whatever, and I get to keep this. I just want to let you know that I was sent this for free. I'm thankful that he's sent this out to me, so I get to show all of you and get some more eyes on his products just in general, because he is a smaller balisong maker, and it's always cool to be able to shed light on other people and keep you all in the know. Now, he didn't ask specifically for me to share anything. Like everything I'm going to share is going to be my own opinions or just facts about this balisong. And he did send like a full review guide, and there's like a lot of information. If I can, I'll leave the link in the description, but I'll mention a lot of it as I'm kind of going over just the balisong, because it's very interesting. I definitely want to highlight its unique features. And that brings me to one of the things I want to mention right off the bat. This balisong is designed to be unique. It was made for people that already have some balisongs and are more experienced, and this is more so just to be just a fun and unique flipper. It's not meant to flip like a metal balisong, and let me tell you, it is not. So that is like, if you're trying to ask about comparisons to other metal balisongs, it just like doesn't compare because it's not supposed to. And even in a similar vein, if you want, if you're curious about comparisons to other plastic balisongs, once again, it doesn't really compare, because plastic balisongs, while they're inherently different than metal because they're made of plastic, they're still designed to flip like metal balisongs in the sense that, they have similar dimensions and they try to get similar weight distributions as much as they can. But obviously they are plastic, so they're gonna be a little bit different. But this one has very different dimensions. It is about 15% larger than a regular balisong. As you can see, if I hold it to the bottom of the handles, the Sentient is much larger than it is at the pivots. Okay, so here's the handles a little bit closer. You can see the handle thickness. It is definitely bigger, but while flipping, it really hasn't been like that noticeable. Like you could see, it is definitely thicker. But even though it is thicker, I really haven't had any problems with it feeling too chunky. Like if you know me, I don't really like very thick balisongs, like in the sense that like my BB Firefly, when I have it, that was definitely too thick for me. But even though these handles are pretty thick, I really don't have any problem doing like any more technical things, or even as well, like with the length, I don't really have any problems with really any tricks. What really comes off more in the flipping is the weight, and as well like the distribution. Now before I get into that, the reason why this balisong is so thick is something that is very important to mention, which is this balisong, and Seeth Designs is very clear on this, is not designed to be dropped on hard surfaces or concrete. And that is because the material is not very durable. It is prone to cracking, he said, and generally around this area of the balisong, on the handles and the blade. So I believe that is why the balisong has been made to be this large, is just because more material means it's less likely to crack. As well, it has T8 pivots. I'm assuming that's to get smaller pivots, to get more material around this area. And even though this balisong is resin, it's not like the flexi bendable resin that you may have seen from other balisongs. So this is not designed to be bendable, and it also can be prone to bending if exposed to heat. It comes shipped with this little spacer, which you can slot. It's right there, and this rubber band. And he actually recommends, to avoid it changing shape, to keep it stored with this on there. And I'm not sure if that's just if it's going to be hot or just at all times. I mean, he recommends to do it at all times. I haven't been storing it with that. just kind of to see, but it can, I guess like the handles or the pivot area, the holes can warp and become oval shaped, so that's not good. So you want to use that to avoid that. He also did mention that there is like if any of your handles do break, there's a warranty, but you can get replacements for each piece at like $5 a piece for each one broken, plus shipping. That's cool that he's, making that an option. Hopefully that doesn't happen to anybody, but just be careful if you are going to get this, that you don't flip it over concrete or other hard surfaces. Now I typically flip mostly in this room or over other soft surfaces like carpet or bed or couch. So I will continue to be doing that with this balisong. So it doesn't really bother me, but I know that could be off-putting to some people that really do like to beat their balisongs. But I mean, it is plastic, and plastic balisongs in general tend to be less durable. Oh, and real quick, I just did want to mention, there's more that he mentioned about the specs. Like these pivots are supposed to be harder to turn, like higher friction, so that you don't need Loctite. So you can kind of like set it and forget it, is what he said. Now I did have one of my handles, the safe handle, was kind of binding, and so I did have to loosen it. It didn't seem that difficult to do. I don't know, but it's been fine since then. I haven't flipped it as much after I had to do that, so we'll see if it stays like that. But that's kind of cool. And then also, because the resin material, he actually has, there's 8 stainless steel washers in here. So there's like, essentially, the way I think about it, if I'm understanding it correctly, is that there's 4 stainless steel washers in the blade, and that acts as, imagine like with the regular balisong, that would be like the steel of the regular blade, and then the 4 remaining washers act like the regular washers of a washer balisong. So that way you don't have like the stainless steel on wearing away on the resin itself. And as for lubricant, because I know some plastic balisongs like say not to lubricate them or to use like a specific one. I did ask him specifically about this, and he said that he used KPL regular, I think, to break it in. And I asked if like KPL heavy or super lube, because that's what I have, would be fine. And he said that should be okay. But he said just be careful of any lubricants that are especially abrasive, which I know people have said that carbon honey, because it has the graphene or graphite, I'm not sure, one of those, I guess the carbon of the carbon honey, that can, when the like lubricant dries up, that graphite or graphene, whatever it is, will stay in the pivots and can cause some, like, whether it's just the discoloration or abrasiveness, I'm not sure. So you might want to be careful about using carbon honey in this balisong, but that's just my own 2 cents. Now, I do want to talk about how this thing flips. Now keep in mind, once again, that the goal of this was to be a unique and fun flipper. And I could say that the goal is achieved. This is a fun flipper. My favorite thing about this, I think though, is the sound. Or to be more specific, the lack thereof. I have a lav mic here, so just holding it up. This thing is so quiet. The closing, like under normal circumstances, is really quiet. If you really slam it, you can sometimes get a louder sound. But compared to like other things like my Squiddy A, which before was like my most quiet balisong overall, and like the Frank P, the Sentient is super quiet, which is fantastic because I enjoy having a nice quiet balisong. It's nice to be able to take a break from loud sounds when flipping, or to have something like if you wanted to, like if you were, wanted to flip while, somebody's like watching TV or something, or watching a movie. Who watches TV anymore? You totally could do that, and I don't think it would really bother anyone, as long as you're not dropping it, because that can still be kind of loud. But, I mean, it's just so quiet, which I've personally really been enjoying. Now, as for the flipping, it is large, and that doesn't really get in the way. Honestly, typically when I go back to a regular metal balisong, the weight is so much more apparent, like the weight difference, because this balisong weighs 2.36 ounces right now. It can go to 2.06. So like these are all weights, and these you can take out. And then also there's weights in the handles, which there are lighter weights that come in the back spacer. Me personally, I can't really imagine taking any of these out. I think you could just like push them out. And he mentioned that you can kind of carefully heat this up, I think in warm water to like kind of warm the resin to make it softer to take the weights out. But honestly, I wouldn't want it to be any lighter because it's already so light. The Frank P and Squiddy A both come in at 2.6 ounces. So this is like around 0.3 ounces, less than that, lighter. Definitely is very light, and the handles are very large. And as well, it doesn't carry a ton of momentum in the handles just because this resin is just so light and they only have weights in the end. And so because of that, it definitely feels like you have to put in a decent amount of effort to get it to flip. Now, because it is light, it isn't too bad, but in general, I find that I flip slower with this balisong. So, like while you can flip faster, doing that, like I have to put in a lot more effort than what I would like to and what normally would have to. And generally I would rather flip it like slower, like this. Like that would be like a comfortable flipping speed for this balisong. Simply because it is light and it doesn't have a lot of mass to be able to impart a lot of momentum to it in the first place. But also I think that it just is the distribution. It doesn't have a lot of weight in the ends of the handles. Or really not in the ends of the handles, just in the handles at all. That would be something that'd be interesting. Like he has these weight pins. I wonder if he could do a similar thing in the handles. Probably would be too thin. But it would just be interesting to be able to get a little bit more weight in the handles overall. It's one of those things where it's cool that, you know, you can get really granular with the weight, but I doubt that me personally that I would have a lot of benefit from that. But yeah, in addition to like it's lightweight and it's just like the way that it carries momentum, it definitely feels pretty floaty. Maybe it's just because it's just like large and plastic and it doesn't have a lot of weight, but it's fun to kind of like do these heavily aerial based combos with this balisong. Now, as for the grip, functionally, I think the grip is really good. The plastic is not at all smooth or slippery like the Squiddy A and Frank P tend to be. It definitely feels nice and grippy. It also has a lot of texture on the handles. The jimping is also really nice for ladders, so that's cool. And additionally, it's just really light overall, so that's always makes it easier for ladders. Now, the way that it feels in the hand is very interesting. Feels almost, I don't know if spongy is the right word. Probably isn't. It's fairly rigid, but I don't know. Maybe it's just like a combination of like the size and the texture and just like the look. I saw in Pez Flips' video that he said it felt kind of like flipping marshmallows. I think that's a good description, just with like, especially like the color and the weight and the feel in the hand. It does kind of feel like a marshmallow. But yeah, so like I really haven't discussed anything about like specific tricks with this balisong, and really I haven't had any issues with any specific tricks. Like chaplains, it does them just fine, does them, actually like yeah, I've got no complaints. It's nice and sticky. Rollovers as well, feel good. Yeah. Fans do well. I mean aerials, like I mentioned, parabolics, everything. You know, it can do all the tricks, which is good. It's nice to have that like consistent feel. It definitely is consistent. I think the only thing though is it just overall feels like I have to put a little bit more effort than I would hope. Like even though it is plastic and it is light, and I think that makes it easier. Like if this was a metal balisong and it weighed more like it was 4 something ounces and it kind of carried momentum like this, I think it would be a lot more fatiguing to flip. But because it is so light, it isn't too bad, and it's kind of, I can kind of lead into that like different feel. Almost like when I flipped like the Squiddy XL, you know, because it's just so big, it just like kind of has to move a lot slower, it feels to me. And it's kind of like, you know, when you see a giant in the movie and they're just like lumbering and like looks like they're moving in slow motion. I think because of this balisong, because of its larger shape and as well how it carries momentum, it just does kind of lend itself well to that kind of like slower flipping. And so I can just kind of lean into that. And so it does like have that unique experience. So I feel like naturally when I pick it up, I just kind of lean into that. And so it's fun in that regard, but it definitely is different from your typical balisong. Real quick, I forgot to mention the bite handle indicator. One, it's really nice that a plastic balisong actually has one. And two, this is actually a really good one. You can't really feel it as much like on these types of things, which is kind of common with a lot of bite handle indicators, but you can definitely feel it on Chaplin's, which is really nice. So I'm glad they include that. And as well, right next to it, there is a serial number, which is pretty cool because this balisong is designed for more experienced flippers and more so as like as a collector's item. It's cool that they include that because, you know, balisong collectors love to have their unique numbers on their items. And in case you're wondering, I got number 10. But yeah, leave any questions you have in the comments. Thank you again to Seeth Designs for sending this out to me. I really do appreciate getting to flip it early and getting to share my thoughts with all of you. This is a fun option to add to your collection. It definitely is not something I would get if you're looking for something performant. Personally, my recommendation is if you, like me, enjoy a nice quiet balisong, this is honestly enters the silent territory, like legitimately. To me, the standout feature of this balisong is the sound. Just the fact that it is near silent is very cool to be able to have that option if you want to flip something that really won't disturb people from the sound. And it also has the uniqueness of the larger dimensions and the lighter weight. And while some of that does mean that it's definitely not the most performant flipper, you definitely can do a lot of tricks on it and have a lot of fun. And especially if you're willing to kind of slow down and flip at the speed at which it wants you to flip, you can have a lot of fun with this thing. But it's definitely not without its quirks or disadvantages, of course being, the main one I think just being like the durability, and which I haven't had, of course, any issues with yet, but it just seems like it's just something that's there that you want to be aware of. You definitely don't want to keep this balisong in too much heat, nor do you want to flip it over anything that is too hard. And with the flipping, I do think it lacks a little bit of weight at the end of the handles, so you can definitely overcome that and still have a really fun time. And now it's usually in the video when I will send you to one of my videos to go watch, but if you want to see more of this balisong, you should check out this video here. This is actually Pez Flips. You should definitely go watch his channel anyway, but if you want to see more of this balisong, here's his video on it. He does a really good job of explaining some things, and I definitely agree with a lot of what he says, if not everything exactly. So go watch it.